How do I look? Do I look good? Take a moment and just appreciate this sweater. It's from Four Wheel Overland. Got some Vanagons on the back. This is my new favorite sweater and I'm pretty much living in it. If you're new here, my name is Sebastian. I live in this here van. It's a 1985 Volkswagen Vanagon Westfalia. So today I want to talk a little bit about what I do to be able to afford van life and kind of some jobs you could do to be able to travel. I don't necessarily travel full time, but I make it work with what I got. Now, if you watch a couple of my previous videos, you've noticed that I've been working this crazy long hour full-time job. It's 40 hours a week minimum. Well, I don't know, minimum. If I work 40 hours a week, I only get like 38 hours. But lately, during this winter season, there's been a lot of opportunity for overtime. What I do, I work on the ramp at Jackson Hole Airport. That's why I've been staying in this area. Living full-time in the van and working a full-time job. Also the social media stuff, but we'll get into that. So the airport is located about 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Jackson, Wyoming. There's a rec center downtown and there's a variety of grocery stores and places to go and spend a lot of money and eat out. Jackson, Wyoming is known to be one of the more expensive ski towns in America. So me coming here to work full-time and rent an apartment and shop at the expensive grocery stores and whatnot, it's just not an option because I've heard of horror stories of people paying upwards to $3,000. I think it's gone up to like $3,500 a month for rent, and I'm just not going to do that. Now the wages here in Jackson are a little bit higher because it's a ritzy ski town, and a lot of the employees that have worked in this area for a long time and have established good backgrounds in this area, they have complained enough to where they've raised the income for this little town. And it's not just Jackson, you know, the places around the US as well, like California, the pay has skyrocketed, but so has the cost of living. So yes, it's expensive and we get paid a little bit more. So my cheat code for living in such a ritzy ski town is that I do live in my van full time and I don't pay anything for electricity, water, rent, none of that. But I do have to pay the outrageous prices at the grocery store. I do shop at the local grocery store. It's a franchise place called Smith's. I have a card and I'm able to shop all the yellow tags, which gets me a little bit of a discount. It's the member discount. It's nothing fancy. The places I park, I try and keep it as legal as possible. I did get a parking ticket for out of bounds camping the other week. It was $100, $130 after the processing fee and everything. But if I paid $100 every single night for a month, it'd still be cheaper than rent most places here, which is crazy. So I thought I'd be able to come here and work full time and pursue my content creation journey. Also while being able to do the fun stuff like ski and paraglide and hike and all that. But I could hike for free. I could paraglide for free relatively, and ski. Backcountry skiing is like the only option without paying thousands of dollars because ritzy ski town, it's in the name. So I haven't been skiing and getting outdoors as much as I'd like as of recently, which is unfortunate. But now that it's warming up outside, I could swap the skis out for the paraglider and be outside a lot more. Anyways, back to my job. So it's a very physically demanding job. I get paid $25 an hour, and like I said, it's 40 hours a week. I've been averaging about 50 hours a week, which brings me in take home is about $1,000. And I do get paid weekly, not every 2 weeks. So that's $4,000 in my pocket every single month. I do have expenses like car insurance, cell phone bill. I am paying on my student loans. That total brings it well under $2,000 a month. And my food expenses, I've been trying to cut that way down. It's about $250 a month. And after everything like gas and everything else, I could easily save about $2,000 a month. I know it could be a little bit more, but the student loans are kind of high. Let's just say my annual expenses pretty much add up to half of what it would cost me to rent an apartment here in Jackson. So if you couldn't tell, I could save up quite a bit of money living in my van, not spending anything on rent, and being in such a beautiful area. I'm not saying everyone should just quit their job, buy a van, and go out there and start working on the ramp in an airport, because living in a van, it takes some getting used to, and working on the ramp in an airport, it's pretty grueling work. It's not easy. I have an aviation background, so I kind of jumped right into it, and I find it very easy. I've been flying planes for the past 10 years, both Part 135 and 121, so I've got a couple hours in aircraft, and I've spent a lot of time on the airport ramp as it is. So working for a company to load bags on an aircraft and marshal in or marshal out and do all the airplane safety stuff around aviation, super easy. And everyone that learns that I'm a pilot and I'm no longer flying automatically assumes that I did something wrong in the field to where I got fired and no longer fly because I'm a bad pilot. That's not the case. I got super burnt out. I quit my job, and I'll tell you one thing, I'm way happier working my ass off on the ramp and working a job that's way less personal, takes a lot less training, and I still bring in decent money. Now, realistically, I could go get a flying job for a year, save up a bunch of money, and then quit and carry on living in the van and just like take a year off and do all the fun stuff. But the thing with finding jobs in my field specifically, I don't know if this is for like every field, if you're a doctor or a nurse or a police officer or I don't know, any professional field out there. But for me, I have to go through months of training, which takes up, I'd say, a quarter, if not half of the year once I get off of IOE and I'm finally comfortable in the seat in the aircraft flying my line. That's about a half-year process. So there goes the first half of the year, and then the second half is just me flying as much as possible, and the plan is to quit at the end of the year after I just spent 6 months training. That doesn't really add up to me. So I'd rather just work my 4 days on, 3 days off for a couple months, save up, and then hit the road and do it all over again in a couple months when I run out of money. Another thing with professional jobs is that they don't want to see a lot of jumping around in your professional career. That really doesn't look good. As for small jobs that pay a lot less money and they don't require any training at all, those are a lot easier to get in my experience. So once I quit my professional job as a corporate pilot flying private jets, I hopped on this website called CoolWorks. I was able to find a whole plethora of seasonal jobs that paid dirt cheap, and I started driving north and didn't really know where I was going. I landed on Yellowstone National Park. I'm like, yo, this place is pretty cool. I applied for a job and got it the next day. And I started maybe 2 or 3 weeks later and worked the summer season last year in Yellowstone. Once that contract was up, I landed down here in Jackson because I saw an opportunity to work at the Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. It wasn't much more pay, but it was a little bit, and these mountains are a lot more fun to climb than the grizzly infested ones over there in Yellowstone. So I ended up working for a Jackson Hole Mountain Resort for a short period of time, and then my friend was working at the airport, so he recommended it to me and I jumped right on it. And now I'm making a little bit more money and I have a really good schedule to work with. I get a housing stipend even though I live in my van. It's a pretty good situation. So circling back to the website Coolworks, if you're looking to, and this is completely unsponsored, if you're looking to get out there and do seasonal work, go check out Coolworks because there are so many jobs. You could list it by state, like Alaska's at the top. There's a bunch of jobs in Alaska if you want to go work up there this summer. I'd hop on there right now and apply. There's so many for like Denali National Park. You apply to Princess Denali. When I was up there not too long ago, I was hanging out with all of the seasonal employees. They get the housing, they get like extremely discounted food, which is awesome. And you could fly up there, they'll pick you up from the airport, and then you just stay in Denali National Park all summer. Same with all the different national parks. There's so many in Utah, Montana. I mean, you go up to the Pacific Northwest, or if you're an Easterner, you go out east. That's not for me. If you're not into the physical labor and you want to be some sort of digital nomad living in the van, living the vibiest lifestyle out there, hit me up because I would like to do that as well. I still haven't figured that out. It's like this never-ending Google search of how do I work on my computer in my van full-time. Oh, you could script things and write and freelance. There's so many freelance websites that'll pay you pennies on the dollar of what you're actually worth. Just go get a job. Go get a full-time job or a seasonal job and work the 9 to 5 and live in your van, experience the area for the season, and then move on. It's that easy. If you want to get into skiing, you go be a lifty somewhere in Colorado or even here, everyone's hiring. Or if you want to go hike in the mountains in Montana or Wyoming, or even up in the Pacific Northwest, then you could go get a job anywhere. Drive up there and go stay in the employee housing. You don't even have to live in your car. Most of these places offer extremely discounted employee housing. That's what I did up in Yellowstone because it was so cheap I couldn't turn it down, and it had a garage and everything. So I just stayed in the housing, and I was in the van more than the housing anyway, but that's besides the point. There's a shower, there's a full kitchen. I have 2 housemates and they were super cool. So I think what I'm trying to say is that there is 0 excuses to not travel. Sure, it's a slower method of traveling, but you could do it without going broke. Okay, so maybe you don't want to work, a couple days on, a couple days off. There are jobs out there that will allow you to work like 14 days off and have a week off and so on. Those are harder to come by. My last flying job, of course, you need a lot of training to get into it, but I did work 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. With that, I managed to drive all the way to the Arctic Circle and back, and it was a great time. But I always had to come back to work every 2 weeks. That was the hardest part. But I'm sure if you look hard enough, there are jobs out there that have that schedule that don't require a degree at all. I'm gonna list off a few jobs that you could work seasonally just off of Coolworks here and see if any pique your interest. Alaska jobs, I mean, everyone wants to go and visit Alaska and explore the last frontier. There's a hotel on here that's hiring CDL drivers. If you have your CDL license, then you could perhaps make a lot of money doing this. There's a restaurant manager, or if you don't have any experience at all, they've got one for a front desk agent. That's easy. A little bit of on-the-job training and you're good to go. Here's another resort. This one's in Sitka. They're hiring servers and cooks. That's really good for making tips. If you could bank on the tips throughout the summer, then you could perhaps just fly to South America all winter and spend like $200 a month on rent and live off a 90-day visa. It's not impossible. Here's another one in the southeast of Alaska. This is Sea Kayak and Zipline Tour Guide. If you have any experience doing tours or anything, this would be perfect for you. Actually, right here it says no experience required, but it is preferred. Yeah, guides, cook, baker, dishwasher, host, cleaner, and maintenance. This is some easy stuff. Okay, here's another state, Colorado. There's one for a seasonal camp counselor, a climbing coordinator. If you know how to rock climb at all, you could probably figure this out. There's even one for a photographer on here. $3,800 per season. That's not a lot. Here's another camp. It's looks like a kids camp. You could be a bike school supervisor, bike patrol, banquet house person, mountain bike instructor. That'd be pretty easy to do. I've mountain biked once in my life and I think I could figure this out. The list goes on. There is no excuse not to be able to hop in your van or even just fly up there and work for a season and explore. And for me personally, I'd rather be sleeping in my van because this is home for me. And after looking at that, it just sparks my interest a little bit more, knowing what the possibilities are to be able to hop in the van, drive somewhere, whether it be, I really like Alaska, so it'd probably be Alaska, and work for a season up there. However, I've been trying to build up this social media thing, and I've been trying to generate income through here and this platform and Instagram, and it's kind of working, it's kind of not, but that's my main goal. So that's kind of where my focus has been this past winter and last summer, so I could be able to travel and share my travels with you guys. And I'd say content creation is definitely the hardest thing on this list, because I know I could show up and clock in for my 10-hour minimum shift at work every day, and I'm receiving a paycheck that's already taxed and everything at the end of the week. So I just wanted to come on here and share my experiences with working in the national park and working at this resort and now working at the airport, how easy these jobs are to come by. And that's what I did anyway, and it's worked out pretty good for me. I hope this was in any way helpful for you. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and comment if you have any questions, and I'll try and answer as many as I can. I'll see you guys next time.
Under the willow tree, the last weekend of summer.